Sultan Suleiman I, termed by the European writers Suleiman the Great and Suleiman the Magnificent, bears the histories written by his own countrymen, the titles of Suleiman Kanuni, Suleiman the Lawgiver, and Suleiman Sahibi Kiran, Suleiman the Lord of his age. That age was remarkably fertile in sovereigns of his ability. The Emperor Charles V and King Francis I, Pope Leo X, and Henry VIII Vasily Ivanovich, who laid the foundations of the future greatness of Russia, Sigismund I of Poland, Andreas Gritti, the sage Duke of Venice, Shah Ismail the restorer and legislator of Persia, and the Indian Akbar, the most illustrious of the dynasty of the great Moguls, shone in the drama of the world at the same time that Suleiman preached there. Not one of these great historical characters is clothed with superior lustre to that of the Ottoman Sultan. Suleiman had, while very young, in the time of Bayezid II, been entrusted with the command of provinces, and in his father's reign he had, at the age of 20, been left at Constantinople as viceroy of the empire. When Selim marched to attack Persia, he governed at Adrianople during the Egyptian War, and during the last 2 years of Selim's reign he administered the province of Saruhan. Thus, when at the age of 26 he became Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, he had already gained experience as a ruler, and he had displayed not only high abilities but also a noble generosity of disposition, which won for him both affection and respect. The people, weary of the ferocity of Selim I, inflexible, rapturously welcomed the accession of a new ruler in the prime of youthful manhood, conspicuous by dignity and grace of person, whose prowess, justice, clemency, and wisdom were painted by fame and hope in the brightest colors. The first act of Sultan Suleiman announced that an earnest love of justice and generous magnanimity would be the leading principles of his reign. 600 Egyptians 600 Egyptians whom Selim had forcibly transplanted to Constantinople received permission to return to their homes. A large sum of money was distributed to merchants who had suffered by Selim's arbitrary confiscation of their property for trafficking with Persia. Several officers, high in rank, including the admiral of the fleet, who were accused of cruelty and malversation, malversation were brought to trial, convicted and executed. Kana in his strategy of tyranny will make Suleiman say of himself: Ich hab gelebt, ich fühl's für alle Zeiten, und die Sterne knüpft ich meinen Ruhm. Die Welt, die flammende Held ich bezwungen, war ich der einzige Held in meiner Zeit. Doch große Männer lebten mein Jahrhundert, und große Helden standen wider mich. Ich darf mich nicht des Glücks Liebling schelten, ich hab's mit Kraft dem Schicksal abgetrotzt, was es dem Bittenden verweigern wollte. I have lived for all the time, of that I'm conscious, and on the immortal stars have night my fame. I had subdued the world, had I been born. Sole hero of my age, my toil was harder. My century was the rich in mighty spirits, and many and strong were they who strove with me. I scorn the name of fortune's favourite, with resolute force I wrung from destiny what had to found entreaties been denied. The report of this and similar deeds of the new Sultan spread rapidly through the empire, and Suleiman's commands to his viceroy to repress every kind of disorder among rich and poor, among Moslems and Rayas, to make the imperial dispensation of justice the great object of their lives, received in universal applause and general obedience. The people felt that they were under a strong as well as a merciful government, and the Sultan was better loved for being also feared. It was only in Syria that any trouble followed the deeds of Sultan Selim. There the double traitor, Ghazali, the Mamluk Bey, who had betrayed the Mamluk cause to the Turks and had received the Syrian government as his reward, attempted to make himself independent, but Suleiman sent an army against him without delay, and the defeat and the deed of the rebel not only restored tranquillity to Syria, but checked the hostile designs of Shah Ismail, who had assembled his forces on the frontier and stood in readiness to avail himself of Ottoman weakness as Persia's opportunity. It was not, however, long before Suleiman was called on to display his military abilities in foreign warfare, and it was over the Hungarians that his first conquests were achieved. There had been disturbances and collisions on the frontiers of Hungary and Turkey in the last part of Selim's reign, and the weak prince who filled the Magyar throne, Louis II, now imprudently drove the fall weight of Ottoman power against his dominions by insulting and putting to death the ambassador of Suleiman. The young Sultan instantly placed himself at the head of the powerful army, which was provided with a large train of heavy artillery, and arrangements were made for the transport and regular delivery of stores and supplies, which showed that Suleiman possessed the forethought and skill, as well as the courage of his father. The Ottoman soldiery followed him to battle with peculiar alacrity, and their military enthusiasm was augmented by their beliefs in his auspicious destiny, on account of his name, on account of the prosperous commencement of his reign, and still more on account of the fortunate recurrence of the mystical number 10 in all that related to him. The Orientals have ever attached their importance to numbers, and they esteem the number 10 the most fortunate of all. Suleiman was the 10th Sultan of the House of Ottoman. He opened, he opened the 10th century of the Hijriya, and for this and other decimal attributes he was styled by his countrymen the prefector of the perfect number, the firm conviction which his soldiers felt that their young sultan was the favorite of heaven, made them march at his bidding as to certain victory in the cause of God. They commonly quoted as prophetic of the fate which awaited the enemies of their sovereign, the words of the epistle from Suleiman or Solomon to Balkis, queen of Sheba, in the 26th chapter of the Quran. Thus said Suleiman, in the name of the most merciful God, dare not to rise up against me, but come and submit yourself to me and confess the true faith. Such military prophecies do much to work out their own fulfillment. The first campaign of Sultan Suleiman against the Gyaurs was eminently successful. Sabchas and other places of minor importance in Hungary were besieged and taken by his generals, but Suleiman led his main force in person against Belgrade, which long had been a bulwark of Christendom against the Turks, and before which Mahomet, the captor of Constantinople, had so signally failed. Belgrade was now captured, 29th of August 1521, and Suleiman, after having turned the principal church into a mosque, repaired the fortifications and provided for the maintenance of the city of Turkish stronghold, marched back in triumph to Constantinople after his first victorious campaign. Under his active and skillful superintendence, new buildings for ornament and use in peace and in war rose rapidly in the principal cities of the empire. The arsenal at Constantinople was enlarged, and thousands of workmen were daily employed in framing and fitting out new squadrons and in the preparation of the naval and military stores on the unprecedented scale of grandeur. In taking Belgrade and Suleiman had surmounted one of the two shows by which the victorious career of Mohammed II had been checked. They now resolved to efface the shame of the utter reverse, which his renowned ancestor had sustained, and, and to make himself master of the Isle of Rhodes, where the Christian knights of the St. John of Jerusalem had so long maintained themselves near to the head of the Turkish power.